What's good, EYTBC? What's good, fight fans, boxing heads around the world? B Marsh here with another boxing video. So we're going to talk about a controversial fight, take you back to 1995. Controversy, let's talk about it, you know what I'm saying? We'll talk about controversial fights here on my channel, whether there were past fights or present fights, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to take it back to George Foreman, the lineal champion of the world, versus Axel Schulz, a god of Germany. You know what I'm saying? So at this particular time, George Foreman is world champion of the world. You know what I'm saying? He's a lineal champion. He has the IBF strap at this particular time too. You know what I'm saying? The man George Foreman is coming off of beating Michael Moore for the lineal champion of the championship of the world at heavyweight and the WBA and IBF strap. You know what I'm saying? Now the man Michael Moore, he got caught by George Foreman, and George Foreman became the oldest heavyweight champion of the world in boxing history at the time. You know what I'm saying? He caught him with a nice 1-2, and it was a wrap. He flattened Michael Moore, and he caused a big upset at the time. Now the opponent, Axel Schulz, was a guy who was an unknown guy at the time. Um, he wasn't ranked in the IBF or WBA rankings in the top 15. And this the guy that George Foreman wanted to fight. At the time, George Foreman was used to be given a list by HBO of 20 guys, French contenders for the most part, that he should fight. You know what I'm saying? And the man George Foreman would usually pick a guy out of the 20, and that's who he'd fight. You know what I'm saying? So he picked Axel Schulz, and Axel Schulz wasn't ranked in the top 15 by the WBA and the IBF. And now that he's the world champion, George Foreman, that is, you know what I'm saying, he got to fight somebody in the top 15. So, you know, the WBA refused for him to fight against Axel Schulz, so they stripped him because George Foreman wasn't trying to fight Tony Tucker, who was then the number one ranked contender for the WBA strap in the WBA rankings. You know what I'm saying? So George Foreman declined that fight, and the IBF apparently, you know, they let the fight happen, and Axel Schulz wasn't in the top 15, but you know they paid the man George Foreman, and you know he paid the IBF $250K to get that man Axel Schulz boosted into the to get put up in the top 15 rankings. You know what I'm saying? You know, this information is disclosed in the when the IBF president and the founder at the time, Robert Lee, you know, he had a racketeering trial. And even Bob Arum testified that, you know, he also was supposed to give Robert Lee $200,000 to make Axel Schulz to get him up there in the top 15 IBF rankings, you know what I'm saying? But so Bob Arum paid $100,000 up front, but he ain't get to pay the other $100,000 yet back on the back end because, you know, the man Foreman he ain't fight him in the rematch. He ain't fight Axel Schulz. So that's how the man Axel Schulz got in position to fight for the lineal championship and the IBF strap. You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about the fight, man. The fight was controversial, you know what I'm saying? I had scored the fight 8 rounds to 4 for Axel Schulz, actually. You know what I'm saying? Axel Schulz, the fight started off slow. You know what I'm saying? Axel Schulz wasn't, neither guy was really doing too much in each round, you know what I'm saying? And then in the 4th round, the man Axel Schulz got cut on the top of the head, you know what I'm saying? And he was cut and he was bleeding, and he came back in the 5th round and he got staggered by George Foreman. It seemed like that punch that staggered him by George Foreman woke him up, because after that he was a game opponent and he started winning rounds, you know what I'm saying? He started jabbing and throwing right hands, you know what I'm saying? And using his movement, you know what I'm saying? George Foreman was trying to stalk the guy, you know, being aggressive, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't effective aggressiveness because, you know, anytime he'd walk up and try to cut the ring off, you know, and he'd try to corner the man Axel Schulz, He'd get hit by a jab and maybe a right hand coming, and George Foreman was holding and clinching a lot. You know what I'm saying? He was trying to neutralize Alex Schultz's power and also neutralize his mobility, because the younger guy, Alex Schultz, was moving a lot. You know what I'm saying? You check it, he was moving, using his foot movement, and he was a game opponent. You know what I'm saying? And to me, I'm not gonna say he was dominating the fight, but he was winning on points. You know what I'm saying? He fought a real smart fight, trying to make the man follow him, and every time he wouldn't just move all the time. He'd stay in the pocket and he'd throw some punches, jabs to the pit of the stomach, jabs to the face, and he'd follow it up with a right hand. You know what I'm saying? As you saw in the video, man, the man George Foreman had to give an interview with glasses on because his left eye was swollen. You know what I'm saying? It was swollen shut, and that was due to the numerous right hands he was getting caught with by Alex Schultz. Now Alex Schultz was controlling the fight even in the 12th round, man. He was hurting the man George Foreman. You know what I'm saying? He wobbled him and staggered him a few times in that 12th round. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, he won the fight easily, man. He won 8 rounds out of 12. He came in there and he shocked George Foreman and the world. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't get the decision, man. It would be hard for him to get the decision. At the time, George Foreman is a very likable guy. He's a guy who's the heavyweight champion of the world, overcame big obstacles. Beating Michael Moore. Previously he had lost what's his name? Tommy Morrison. So the man George Foreman was making a lot of money, man, and he made 10 million for this fight versus Axel Schulz. Axel Schulz got probably about 350K if I'm not mistaken. I know he ain't break 400,000. You know what I mean? You check it. It was a good fight. Axel Schulz, he came in, did the unthinkable. A guy who ain't known, and he came in, he caused the upset. You know what I'm saying? Harold Letterman had it. He had it 9 rounds to 3 on his card, 117-111. And the judges for the fight, the official judges, they had one judge had a draw, 114-114, and the other two judges scored it 115-113, 7 rounds to 5, both of them in favor of George Foreman. So the man was pretty upset. Axel Schulz, he demanded a rematch, which was only right. You know what I'm saying? But George Foreman declined, and he moved on and went to fight other French contenders. You know what I'm saying? Like Luce and them type of fellas. You check it. The man, George Foreman, he kept his title that night, and Axel Schulz wanted the rematch. He said he wanted it in Germany, and that was probably never going to happen. Foreman wasn't going to go to Germany. He was making $10 million here in the States just to fight Axel Schulz. You know what I'm saying? So the IBF stripped George Foreman for not fighting a rematch with Axel Schulz. So Axel Schulz went on to fight Francis Bourtois. You know what I'm saying? For the vacant IBF strap that George Foreman vacated, and he beat Axel Schulz to a unanimous decision, but he came out dirty. You know what I'm saying? He was using PEDs, and it came out, after the fight that he had been using steroids, and he got stripped of the title, which gave the man Axel Schulz another opportunity again for a third time in a row to fight for the IBF heavyweight strap of the world, and he fought against Michael Moore in Germany, and Michael Moore went on to beat him to get the IBF title again for a second time. So, and the man George Foreman still kept his the Lineal title he had, which he eventually lost in his last fight against I guess let's go champ Shannon Briggs. You know what I'm saying? But I watched that fight back when, and I had the man losing that fight. You know what I'm saying? I had Shannon Briggs losing, but they gave it to Shannon Briggs. So that's my thoughts on this fight. You know what I'm saying? It was a robbery, no question about it. It was definitely a robbery. George Foreman should have lost his title that night. And it was unfortunate for Alex Schulz. He didn't become a world champ. And I know they was very mad out there in Germany. You know what I'm saying? They showed the reaction of the people and they were vexed. All right, y'all. That's my video, man. Controversy. Let's talk about it. It's boxing. It's George Foreman versus Axel Schulz in '95. And that's my video. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts and comments about the fight. Who'd you have winning the fight back in the day? You know what I'm saying? You think Foreman should have lost the fight or should have Axel Schulz won it? All right, y'all. Peace. This be Marsh Boxing. Peace.